Hi guys, it's Brooke. Welcome back with another video. So this week I'm going to be doing my January wrap up. So I only read 5 books this month, but that's right on track with my goal. This year I want to read 52 books, so I want to try to read a book for every week of the year. Let's get into it. First we have A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This is kind of a little novella in between A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Silver Flames. So this is like, I don't know, it's, I guess what a lot of us call it is like the Christmas special for it. So it's pretty much just a book during the winter solstice and like how they're celebrating it, and you kind of get every character's point of view in this, which I think is really fun, and it sets you up for getting Cassian and Nesta's point of view in A Court of Silver Flames. Seeing them just kind of interact without the threat of like death over their heads was exciting to see too, and just kind of how they all interact and all the characters really being their truest selves. And I liked seeing Nesta's point of view in this and where we kind of left off with her and where we're going to start with her in A Court of Silver Flames. I think you really get to see where she's at right now. I think seeing Nesta's point of view really sets you up for A Court of Silver Flames to kind of understand how she thinks about everyone and how and why she acts the way she acts. My second book I read was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this a 5 stars. This was my favorite in the whole ACOTAR series. Out of the main 3, I liked A Court of Wings and Ruin the most, but out of all of the 5 that are out so far, I loved A Court of Silver Flames. It was my absolute favorite. I love Nesta. I love Cassian. I love their relationship. I love getting more of Azriel in this book as well, and I loved all of her friends that she created along the way. I don't know, I really enjoyed her story. I feel like I really relate to Nesta a lot, and being an older sister now, I think, I know this is a little controversial, but I understand where she comes from a lot, and I think Nesta's the first person to tell you that what she did and having Feyre being kind of the leader of the house was wrong. I think she's the first person to admit to that, and I don't think she ever tries to excuse it either. I think she really lets it weigh on herself. Like, she's very upset she did it and she wishes she didn't, but you can't go back now. So you have to make up for it. I think, I don't know, I get her being the older sister and just how she was like, you're not asked to be born first. Like, you weren't, like, I didn't ask to be an older sibling. I didn't ask to be the firstborn. And, if anything ever happened to my parents, I would be in charge of my sister. But I also didn't ask for that. It just kind of was, that's how my life goes. And I get her frustration of her dad still being around and doing nothing. And, that's his job, not her job. So I don't get why everyone's so upset with her for it. But I don't think you understand her unless you're like her. I don't think you understand her unless you understand her depression, anxiety of everything and how her life worked out. And you know what? I get in the long run, her life became better. But at the time, it was a very, very, very big change. And her life flipped 180 all of a sudden, immediately. And you can't be mad at her for not adjusting to it as well as Feyre did, or even as well as Elaine did, even though it didn't seem like she adjusted as well at first. I also don't understand why no one's mad at Elaine. Elaine is also Feyre's older sibling, and everyone seems to love her, and I don't know. I'm not an Elaine fan personally. I don't get why we're not mad at Elaine for the same things we're mad at Nesta for. Nesta, I love Cassian. I love getting their stories and their point of view so heavily in this. And again, like I said, I don't think you understand Nesta unless you know that feeling. And I know that feeling. I understand Nesta very well. I knew the reasons why she did things before they explained it in the book. I knew it immediately. The second we met her in Akamoth, I understood her character from the start. I understood her in ACOWAR. I immediately knew where she was coming from and everything. And I also think she's the first person to say that what she did was wrong and she should have stepped up. And she never makes excuses for it. At least in my opinion, I never see her make an excuse for it in this. And I don't know, I'm excited to see more of her. And whether or not you enjoyed Nesta, I think if you've been putting off this book because you don't like Nesta, I think you should still give it a chance because you're gonna love other characters. She's not the only character in here. It's not just Nesta and Cassian, and it's not just them and Azriel either. You meet some other new characters that are just really great, and I think whether you like Nesta or not, you're gonna love the story of just, being women. And it will break your heart a million times and it will put it back together a million times. And it's such a great story and it has such a great message to it. The third book I read was The Grimm Effect by Elle Kennedy. I gave this 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed this. I realized it was a lot longer than the original like off-campus series, but it flew by really fast for me. I had a great time. I thought it was really fun. Honestly, the reason it just wasn't a 4 or above for me was Graham just didn't feel like Garrett Graham to me. I know that this wasn't like his book, but we did see him and we saw the other characters a little bit. And Garrett is her dad in this. And so Garrett and Hannah are her parents in here. And so it just, in the deal, Garrett was always very, he let Hannah do her thing, but he was also still protective of her and would hurt anyone that would hurt Hannah, like that she came first. But he still always let her do her own thing. And I feel that stayed the same. He always let she kind of do her own thing. He didn't seem controlling, and it seemed like he really let her live her own life and make her own mistakes, which I appreciated because that was very Garrett Graham of him. But she had an ex in this book that just he isn't great, and he cheated on her. And for some reason, I get Garrett didn't know this at the beginning. Once he found out, he still never was that mad about it, I feel. And he still was friendly with the ex after. And that was very confusing for me. And Luke knew her ex cheated on her before he even became friends with her ex, and then became friends with him. And I just don't get why everyone's so friendly with her ex. That was the main reason it didn't get a 4 or above for me, was the whole ex situation. But otherwise, Gigi and Luke were so cute together. I loved their relationship. It felt really healthy. And it didn't have a third act breakup, which I really, really loved because I hate that. And there was none of that. So I really appreciated that in this book. And I don't know, the flowers and the holidays, it was so cute. It was so cute. And honestly, if the ex and the friendships with the ex weren't in this book, it probably would have at least been a 4.5 for me. The fourth book I read was Collided by Lauren Asher. So this is the second book in the Dirty Air series about Sophie and Liam. And Liam is the F1 racer in this story. And Sophie's dad is, I think he's a manager or a coach for the other team. I don't remember exactly, but he's like in charge of the other team a little bit. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really cute. It did feel at the beginning very physical and not emotional at all, but I think it made sense for Liam's character that it started off very physical and not emotional. His character, I think it made a lot of sense that it started physical and not emotional. I didn't love that there wasn't as much of emotional connection, especially since they did start off as friends. And it always just felt more flirty friends than just like friends. Eventually we got more into like very emotional, we're friends, this is a relationship. I think his trauma from his past really added into this story. I mean, it's a huge spoiler, so I'm not going to say what it was, but it wasn't a love interest of his that was the trauma. And it wasn't just like, oh, she broke my heart, or, something like that. It wasn't stupid like that. It was a very emotional start to the book of what it was and why it affected him so much. And I think it really made sense that he didn't just give in to the relationship. And I think we touched on grief as a topic really well in this book. And I really liked his relationship with his family, and I liked that we dived into that deeper, especially with his brother, and how Sophie really made him dive into that relationship. The last book I read this month was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I give this 3 stars. I thought this was a cute sports romance, and I feel like we dived in a lot to the ice skating world, and I really enjoyed that in this book. But I will say, if you're going to this book because you think it's like enemies to lovers and maybe a little bit of a slow burn, it's neither of those things. It's really not. So I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I'd known that about it and if everyone didn't keep saying it was enemies to lovers, because they did not feel like enemies for 1 second of this book. Not for 1 second. Now, if you're going to this book because you think Nathan is going to be the most iconic character ever, then continue, because he is, and we love him, and he's great. He is great. And there was no communication issues. They were very good at communicating, and Anastasia was very good at communicating, and I really appreciated that. I do think she was a little naive at times. It felt kind of insta-love to me. So I know people say enemies to lovers. I don't know if they say it's a slow burn, but I feel like you'd assume that because it's a 430-page long romance book, so I feel like you assume slow burn because that's kind of what they are when they're this long. But it did feel more insta-love. It felt like we met. We were both just mad at the situation, and she tried to like hate him, but they just didn't hate each other really, and I feel like they grew very quickly. And the like third act breakup, since they got together so fast, was only like halfway through the book and not actually in the third act of the book. I just felt like there was no plot. There was not a singular plot happening in this until at least 75% of the way through. So make sure you know that going into that, because I think I would have enjoyed this book more knowing that as well. And it is very spicy, so if that's why you're wanting to read it, you will have a fantastic time, because it's almost every chapter. It really is almost every chapter. I don't normally care much about spice in books. It's like it really adds or takes away to the story for me. And this one, it felt like it was taking away a little bit, because it felt like we were having a good conversation, maybe starting a plot, and then boom, spice. And I'm like, that felt really sudden, and the situation escalated very, very quickly. I think it was fun though, and I think it was cute, and I really enjoyed both the characters. So I could not give it less than 3 stars, because I really did love both the characters in here. I loved his friends and the other characters and her friends, and I did enjoy all of that. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and comment any other ideas or any book recommendations you have would be great. Thank you guys for watching. Bye!